in us as we seek to grow. And I want to encourage you not to doubt that you're growing, not to doubt that you're being transformed, that things are happening. Sometimes we don't see it all on the surface, but believe me, a lot is going on in your life. So don't give up. Just keep moving forward, growing daily in God's grace and God's love. Because it is only by that grace and love that we're able to accomplish the work that is set before us. So as we go into our time together, we want to ask God to just be here with us and to be the one that helps us to know ourselves a bit more as each day passes by. Because it is only by God's wondrous grace that we're able to find any true purpose in our world. This is truly a blessing for us as we go into this journey together. And we want to be able to understand who God is and who we are in God at this time. So as we come into this time of meditation, I ask that you prepare yourselves by coming into a very relaxed place, a very quiet place. Know that God is here. Know that God is working His purpose out in our lives. And no matter where we are this day, God is with us and God will assist us by bringing us closer to Him and helping us to see what it is that we must see at this time in our journey. So feel that divine presence with you this day and know God is here. God is with you. God is working His purpose out. Take a deep breath. Take a breath. And remember that this breath is life. Our breath is life. It is the way which we are able to maintain that connection with the divine. As we breathe in, we bring that vibrant energy into our bodies, reminding us that we are as vibrant on the inside as we are on the outside. Reminding us that, like fish, we swim in the ocean of life. We are here. We are together. Feel that sense of being a part of all that is. Feel that sense of swimming in the ocean of God's love. Breathing it in, putting it to good use, and releasing it. Just give yourself that opportunity to be still. Feel the presence, the I am presence. To know. To know us to dwell within. To know us to be a part of. We know. Allow yourself to rest in this place of knowing. Feel the presence of each and every one of us that is gathered here now in this moment. Feel the connection to each other. Recognize that we are all connected. We're all one. And in that space of oneness, we continue to seek to grow together, to heal, to transform, to build. So we breathe together. And in breathing together, we ask that God's word may come into our hearts and teach us what we need to know, what we need to be. As we turn our attention to our scriptures today, and we continue our reading from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 10, reading verse 24 to 33. Jesus said, "A disciple is not above the teacher, nor a slave above the master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher, and the slave like the master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light. And what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I also will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I will also deny before my Father in heaven." Here ends the reading. God and God alone. For God and God alone. As we reflect on the passage for this morning, the passage that invites us not to be fearful, but to trust. To trust that we are of great value to the Father. And though at times we may be fearful of what we see around us, God is saying to us that we are of greater value than anything we see. He tells us that even the hairs on our head, they're counted. They're counted. He knows us so well. And this should be comforting for us to know this. He tells us, don't be afraid of those who can kill the body but cannot kill the soul. In this teaching of Jesus, there is this wonderful thought, I believe, that causes us to realize that this really is about the soul. And I know we tend to hear that, but I wonder if we really get that. We think we do. We really think we do. But I wonder if we really do. Because when you think about it, if we really get that this is about the soul, then much of our fears in this world will disappear. But we are flesh. It's all that we have known thus far. We are now becoming aware of our spiritual dimension. But we've known ourselves as flesh. And so we have trained ourselves to protect the flesh at all costs. But the whole ministry of Jesus showed us otherwise. And the funny thing is that as much as we call on the name of the Lord, as much as we speak about the life of Jesus, his death and resurrection, we are not that willing to approach death. I recall some years ago, one of the renowned evangelists was saying that he was told that he had to raise a certain amount of money or else his soul, his life would have been required of him. And I remember reflecting and wondering, well, that seems quite odd. Because one would think that if you're following the master, then one would welcome that opportunity to be called up. But it was more about trying to get enough money to stay alive. And we may have our opinion about that, but it is just a case in point that just reinforces for us where our priorities are. And I'm not saying that I'm there, I'm just saying that we're being constantly reminded of what is important. What is important? Do not fear the one who can only destroy the body, but fear the one who can destroy the soul. Because the body will be destroyed. It's a given. But the soul lives. I think that it really takes a lot out of us, to embrace this. You almost wonder sometimes when you're in this kind of context if it would be better that you could be someplace where everybody else understands this and accepts this and live this out. I believe that to some extent that is what has given rise to various communities. Back in the 60s, communities in the East, where persons have left the West and gone, let go of everything they had and gone to live in ashrams, live in community. We had like the Jim Jones saga as well. All that was individuals trying to let go of something and seeking to move in a different direction. Yes, unfortunately, sometimes those who lead these gatherings are not what they really ought to be. They are not as deep as they should be and can't hold the amount of light that is needed, and they collapse, and the community oftentimes dies with them, sometimes literally. But there is that part of us as we seek to respond to this that has a desire to go where others are like us, where others are seeking the same thing. But that brings us back to Jesus' words to his disciples: be in the world, but not of the world. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge because the world is forever setting the limits and the boundaries. The world is forever making its presence felt in our lives. And it's so difficult to be in the world and not of the world. When we think of being in the world and not of the world, sometimes we think of it in a very superficial way about partying and that sort of thing. But it's not that's not it. It's much deeper. Much deeper. Be of the world, meaning to be of the sarks, of the material, of the materiality, of the grounding of oneself, and not allowing oneself to ascend. Not embracing the higher dimensions or the higher spaces, the higher ways of understanding our existence, but reducing everything down to a manageable space. And anybody who dares to go any higher is considered loony and can easily be destroyed. And we will gladly gather around them and destroy them. So to be in the world but not of the world is to know that I am residing here, but my direction is from a higher place. I'm guided by a higher being. And this oftentimes causes us to clash with the rule of the day, as we saw with Jesus, as we saw with the prophets, as you saw with the apostles, there will be a clash. And it is oftentimes our desire to not be a part of that clash that causes us to get into trouble. Because we want to be able to be okay with everyone else. We don't want to be in any challenging circumstance. We want to be honored by the world. We want to be acknowledged by the world. And therein lies the challenge. Because to be acknowledged by the world is to be of the world. To be of the world. So what do? Jesus makes it clear. Do not fear those who can destroy the body, who can destroy your name, who can fire you, who can cause you to lose everything you have in this world. Fear the one who can destroy the soul. Let's get our priorities right.
Spirit lives in you and me. Walk, walk in the light.